Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Vishal and Company. Today, we're going to be talking about if the crypto bull run is over. We'll be going over our forever favorite man, Elon Musk, and his position in crypto, the China crackdown, IRS regulations, what the technicals indicate, and lots more. We have a ton to talk about today, so I will get right into it. I'm going to pass it over to Vishal.
You, Maddie. So on the equity side, on the stock market side, bit dull. I mean, we had some down days, we had some up days, but the real story, of course, is the fall in cryptocurrencies. On Monday, if you do read my market moment, I did write an article stating, is the Bitcoin bull run coming to an end? Again, just using the same technical patterns that I use. That was the chart, and I was saying if we do get that daily close below, I believe it is 45K. It's just a technical pattern that will trigger, and we were targeting 30K. That was my target for that move lower. And this is what happened 2 days after. And as you can see, the buyers did step in right at 30K there. I mean, it was pandemonium. I've had a lot of calls from people who are trading cryptos and they've lost everything already in this move. And now they're deciding whether they should get back in or get back or take their profits if they even have any. And I think I will try to go through that and give you guys our opinions on that. But the news came with China's crackdown. So this is actually another news piece that came out today. But the news piece that came out on Monday was about China cracking down on financial institutions and basically banning them from taking part in any crypto transactions. And then this news actually just came out an hour ago about China calling for crackdown on Bitcoin mining and trading now, and more regulation, tighter crypto regulation. And what that's done is has caused another sell-off here. So if I go down to the intraday, you can sort of see where that news happened. So this is a 5-minute chart. That's when the news hit, and we have drifted lower. But it looks like in the past hour, we have just begun to basically range here. So yep, China. I think we've talked about this in the previous shows about governments. Tons of news pieces here. So I mean, let's just quickly go through them, and then we'll open the floor here. But we have the U.S. Treasury also calling for stricter cryptocurrency compliance with IRS, say they pose tax evasion risk. We have the Fed talking about their digital currency and the paper that's going to come out this summer. Again, prominently China is also with they have their digital yuan, and the Fed sort of wants to, I guess, catch up right now. And of course, we got our good friend here, Elon Musk.
God damn it.
Talked about it in previous shows about him sort of saying how Bitcoin's not environmentally friendly. We see him here pumping Doge once again. And this is the tweet that had everyone talking.
Very quickly,
he's done it in hands.
He's
because
done it.
Apparently, to clarify speculation, Tesla has not sold any Bitcoin. So this was on the 16th of May. So what do you guys think? Let's open the floor. I know there's a lot to talk about here.
Okay, well, he's done a complete reversal on this whole Bitcoin.
Galen, I know you have an opinion on this.
Galen, you're itching, man.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, is Galen still with us, or?
Hold on a second.
I think he's on mute.
Oh, he must be. I was
Hold
no
on a
way
second.
he's
Hold
not
on.
pitching in.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay, we'll give him a minute. Joseph, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a whole bunch of. I think when the market manipulation eventually comes to a close, and maybe Elon Musk goes back to his hole, wherever that might be, eventually we'll start to see what. Eventually, we'll start to see the I don't know, the standard impetus that Bitcoin is generally supposed to have. Like I don't know, I was writing articles last year before the halving, and I figured we'd get around to about maybe this time this year, and then it would start hitting, like honestly the price point it's at right now. I figured it would be a slower, more gradual climb to where instead it turned into something crazy and circus-like with Musk getting involved in. I mean, this particular drop. I mean, this isn't anything new for China.
Yeah.
And the speculation on the street is that the only reason China actually gets involved at this point and causes these drops is because they want to buy more. I mean, for the most part, this generally seems to be their general gist towards things. I mean, when it dropped in 2016 and dropped in 2013, and it was a Chinese crackdown. And for the most part, it was just a reason for China to get in and buy more.
Now
Now there is a little.
Okay, go ahead.
There is a bit more to it. They have their own digital currency coming out, the digital yen, I believe. So they may be trying to shift some of their. I'm not even sure what consensus mechanism it uses, but if it is a proof of work, then what they might be doing is they may actually be trying to shift those Inner Mongolian miners over to mining it instead of mining it on the country's dime, instead away from Bitcoin, which represents a decent opportunity for literally any other country in the world who wants to get involved. I mean, the United States has a 7% stake in it. I think Canada has like 2 or 3, and it represents a significant potential.
Now,
for,
you're talking about the circus aspect of it, and it really has been. Elon is once again stepped well beyond his area of expertise, which is now I'm beginning to wonder what it ever really was. Because basically he'd done rail banking, some international banking segment for PayPal, that was immediately bounced, and then he took over the running of the company and was immediately bounced. The only reason he survived those transactions is because he got to pay out the $1 billion of actually being part of the founding members of that company, and has gone on since to sort of step into every avenue possible. For instance, Tesla, SpaceX, all these other ventures, and the Hyperloop. Wow, just when are we going to see something he actually knows about? Now, he has been using his star power to manipulate stock value for his own companies, Tesla and SpaceX, in a private way. But he's now doing it with Bitcoin, and has been quite instrumental in Bitcoin's rise and in its fall. Now, one could only wonder the timing of his statements and the complete reversals that he's been doing. Because basically he came out and said that because of environmental concerns, which is not something he's never been really concerned about before, Bitcoin is a bad thing because he was backing Doge. That's basically it. Everybody followed suit. All of the people that followed him as investors bought in and drove it up or drove it down. Right? Now, he said Bitcoin was bad, but then he immediately turned around after the big fall and said Bitcoin was great. We're just going to get more green energy involved, which doesn't make any sense because the amount of energy is the problem. It's not whether it's coming from green sources or other sources. It's a huge amount of energy. Could be used on 100 billion different things that actually means something. But anyway, he turns his bet around, and then Cathie Wood, as a good sort of lapdog, I'm sorry to say that because it has connotations which I do not mean, but in her subservience to Tesla, has turned around and not only bought more shares of Tesla, she's also decided that the Bitcoin is going to go to $500,000 a piece. Now, this is pure manipulation. Neither one of these statements or these predictions or projections have any footing in reality. And yet everybody that's following these people are just throwing their money around. And like you said before, we've got people, I mean, look at the Bitcoin chart. It took a huge dive. And yes, look at ARK. These people aren't geniuses. They have a moat of $1 billion around them so they don't get hit right away. And they're using you to power their ship. Sorry, there we go. I'm backing off.
I was just going to say, obviously, I'm not going to read some of these tweets, but maybe some of you guys can see. But you could see the hate that Musk is getting. Beep you, bro. I've lost 150K, you beep. Twat, you picked the wrong coin. Stop manipulating people to fill your pockets more. You have Peter Schiff even chiming in, and I mean, you can read this. But we talked about this, like the cult of Elon is definitely taking a big hit. And I just want to throw this out here. But there are some people speculating that Elon is actually setting up for an epic launch of Tesla coin, which will be so energy efficient that the regenerative braking of the Tesla fleet powers the entire transaction network. So, I mean, I can see something like that, but obviously, will the retail crowd jump in on a Tesla coin if they've had hits on Doge and Bitcoin due to his tweets?
There you go. I think he's a thief, but you go ahead, guys.
Out of curiosity, has the Minister of Coin said anything? Oh, sorry.
No.
Not the equity guru, Master of Coin.
No, but his
Elon,
Master of Coin.
Well,
Yeah.
he said credit to our Master of Coin, so I guess the Master of Coin is the one with the real diamond hands.
That's just crazy. I mean, this is the guy who, for instance, with his Neuralink, the guy that actually started it, the real brains, this is the person that actually is doing it, has walked because he's tired of Elon going out there and saying incredibly nutty predictions and projections for the company. He can't follow it up. You're talking about communicating telepathically. It isn't fucking possible. The man has no ethics. None. None.
No. And that's the confusing part about him. You know, he has a lot of people devoting to him and then a lot of haters at the same time. It's kind of confusing to pinpoint him like we used to do back then with, I can't put him in the same name and stuff, but Bernie Madoff and those kind of people.
Yes.
Where you're like, is it a scam? What's going on here? Is it too good to be true? Is he actually as great as he's doing? How is he convincing people who are managing billions of dollars, who's supposed to be the best of, you know, people who analyze counting and all that? How is he getting past all those gatekeepers and continuing to move on? And who are the people he has around him that are not telling him, hey man, what you're doing is kind of manipulation, and you just need to watch yourself because the SEC has knocked at your door a few times already. They're obviously watching you, and you continue to do it.
Yeah.
I know, you know, going against social contracts is his thing, but there's a certain point where they're like, okay, man, it's too much now.
Yep.
I don't know how he's not getting that feedback, so it's kind of confusing. It's like I would want to make a bet against him.
Yep.
But as we've seen, it's probably not the bet you want to take right now.
No, and it's true. I mean, unless you're Michael Burry, you can shoulder the burden for long enough.
Exactly.
It's not something that I would do either because people are insane.
True.
Burry did unveil a Tesla short just recently, I believe. 500, yeah. 4 days ago, he did reveal a $530 million bet, so $500 million short against Tesla.
Wow.
Long puts against 800,100 shares of Tesla.
Oh, so you know what? That's honestly so that he's not really getting exposure to the upside then. That's I'm not. It's still a big bet, but he's not really shorting Tesla. He's not really shorting it.
No, it's just it's long puts pretty much.
Okay, never mind then. I've lost all faith in everything. I thought he was.
I think he knows, man, that the it's probably has a good chance it moves higher just because of the macro aspects, right?
Okay, well, I never looked at it. I just assumed he was one of those people who just.
I think it's the safer bet in this situation because as Vishal said, and TK, you're right. I mean, it's not like he's shorting the stock, but I think it's a safer bet that you know it's going to get crazy before it falls out. It has to fall out soon because he's not going to be able to meet any of his projections. He's trying to force out his plaid by June now. When he's got 10,000 or 20,000 vehicles sitting in his parking lot on containment hold. Like, I don't know what he's doing right now. He's basically just fumbling for business.
Yeah.
He's working on Tesla coin, man. That's what he's...
Yeah, but it's another smoke show, right? It's another like, hey, don't look over here. Look over here.
I have a question for the round table. Now, going into the people who are managing money, the pension funds, etc., who are exposed to the S&P, which is close to 60 or 70% of people's pensions. If there is a correction on the downside, where the market is now reassessing a previous incorrect valuation. What's that going to do to people's retirements? And a lot of people have moved from traditional pensions to self-managed 401ks and IRAs in the US and here, forgetting the terms, but you know the fancy terms we have here.
Yeah.
The tax-free, whatever is. What's that going to do to a lot of people? With people like Cathie Wood, sorry to put her on the
grill,
but people like Cathie Wood managing your pensions and your endowments and stuff like that, it's going to affect people's, in let's say 10 years, a lot of millennials, for lack of a better term, won't have retirement money for certain things later on, causing the same cycle of things to happen again where they're like, I need to catch up now. I'm going to have to, and it's kind of like a psychological thing. I'm forgetting what it's called, but once you make a loss, you take greater risk. The opposite of what
to try and turn things around.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
So I mean, we sort of like we talked about this in the past too about like a pension crisis, but I mean this is what a lot of people are saying, right? If these pensions sell all their stocks off, who's going to be the buyer? And there's a lot of people mentioning that because a stock market sell-off would cause a financial crisis. I mean, imagine if ARK went down, right? And a few other hedge funds. Does that constitute the Fed stepping in to buy to keep things propped up, right? And that's what I believe. I believe they'll buy the shares from pension funds when they sell off. If people think that's crazy, I mean, look at the Bank of Japan.
It's not crazy, but it's absolutely impossible, right? We've already created too much imaginary cash.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and we fed this beast long enough. Eventually, the problem being with this is not just keeping the stock market propped, because people are going to be without money. The only riches they're going to have are going to be in the market. And so when they go to buy the $1,200 loaf of bread, they're going to take their money out of the stock market, which doesn't, you know what I mean? Like this, the kind of action that we're seeing right now is what precipitated the Great Depression. We're heading for that. I'm sorry to say, it's happening.
That's true.
So I mean, like in terms of like central bank action, like believe it or not, I mean, even though the Fed is crazy, we're actually in terms of like percentage, in terms of balance sheet percentage of GDP, technically the Fed can actually do much more, just because if you look at Bank of Japan and the Swiss National Bank, they pretty much own 90% of their ETF markets, right? And it's precisely because of this. They don't want pensions and retirements, which most people buy ETFs, right? If they don't want to buy stocks, they'll buy an ETF, and the Bank of Japan owns pretty much 90% of that market now. So I mean, it's yes. I mean, what they'll do is they'll cause much more inequality and all that sort of crazy stuff. But what's that's if you're a central banker right now, that's what you're thinking, right? Do you cause all this crazy stuff, $1,200 loaf of bread to happen, or you just keep buying up,
pushing it up, and
it reminds me of buying it all up, right?
It's not the best.
Like I said, if you look at the Swiss National Bank and the Bank of Japan, they've been doing it for decades. They have negative interest rates, by the way. So if we do it, we'd probably have to go to negative interest rates just to manage all that excess money and debt. The European Central Bank has been doing the same thing, and they're at negative interest rates as well. So, it's very likely the Fed, the Bank of Canada, we all follow
suit. I bring reference from back home in Zimbabwe, where obviously I wasn't as economically active in 2008, but I knew what was going on. Luckily, my parents loved to talk about it, even if I had no idea what was actually going on. They were telling me about how overnight, 60% of the value of the market just disappeared. At the time, I thought it was highway robbery, but now I know what unrealized losses and stuff are now. But 60% of the value disappeared from the market, and then there was hyperinflation that followed from the government trying to save people's pensions and stuff. It didn't work because we had a currency crisis, but that's more of an infrastructure problem than a market problem. And Galen, you're talking about the $1,000 bread, and it actually happens.
Yep.
and it can actually happen. I think 1970, US had a close call with it. It wasn't $1,000 per loaf of bread, but it was pretty close, and people lost most of their life savings trying to catch up now. And those kind of choices by the central bank are kind of important in a moment like that
Yep.
to kind of help prop it back up.
Mhm.
But I feel like a lot of the time now, because these guys have 5 years in office, it's 5 years for the Fed. After his period, the next Fed chair will come in and have a whole different set of things that they'll be worrying about and trying to fix, quote unquote, fix.
Mhm.
And because they're independent, and the quotes there are really important, they're supposed to kind of move away from the political cycle. But it comes into play. The Fed, all Powell has been talking about, except for like the bond buying and stuff, is we need to not the Treasury, the fiscal stimulus needs to change.
Mhm.
Monetary policy is very limited at this point because he knows the next best alternative is buying private assets, like private equity, but private stock and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that's something that hasn't been done here. But I saw back home recently in 2016 where they were buying up, they were basically nationalizing a lot of the companies, using the Fed's tools or our banks, central banks' tools. And of course, our citizens, nobody really said anything. It was either that or a complete crisis, but it worked. And now we're getting back to normal. But another thing, his term is coming over and the crisis is starting up again, because the new person is focused on completely different things. He's talking about employment or whatever like that. And I feel like the US is going to go through something like that. A period of deflation and low growth. And then eventually it'll kind of bounce back after a currency crisis, meaning a lot of foreign investors are going to move out of the US to seek returns in other places, which would just cause like this self-perpetuating thing in most assets. But a lot of the ones that will be affected will be the more leveraged assets, the cryptos, mortgage-backed securities, that kind of stuff. So over time, it's kind of like this speculation in those assets kind of causes their own demise. People moving out now is probably the best thing. I would not buy this dip. If I had $1 million waiting, I would not buy this dip, knowing that it might get even worse.
I was just going to ask the round table, would you buy the dip? I'll start with Joseph.
I have bought the dip.
Bitcoin, right?
He did buy the dip.
No, I'm in. I've been waiting for this drop for a while now. I mean, it's been too high for me, and it's time for me to get in. I mean, it's a long-term thing for me.
Yep. So I think
I'm in.
Joseph,
I'm waiting.
Yeah, Joseph mentioned the key term, that's long-term, right? If you are aiming for a long-term hold, I think continue to buy the dip. That's fine, right? Because my position on cryptos is it's better than fiat, right? So I would rather be in cryptos than Canadian dollars. That's just me, because I sort of know what's happening with the central banks. And a lot of people are sort of waking up to that fact. So I would rather be out of loonies, US dollars, euros, yen, and be in hard assets and cryptos personally. Right now, though, when you do see a big drop in this, and this is a lesson not just for cryptos, but for anything. But again, distinguishing between a long-term trader and a long-term investor and a trader. As a trader, what this is called is it's trying to catch a falling knife. So when you have a big drop and people start buying the dip, you hear about dead cat bounces and all that kind of stuff. And as I said, it's akin to catching a falling knife, because again, this can happen, right? We can get another leg lower, and personally, I actually do think we're going to get another leg lower, and I think we might actually go to 20K. Again, just a technical thing. This is generally what we tend to see in market structure. I would flip bullish. Again, if you're a trader, I would flip bullish once we pass and close back above 45,000, because that would actually nullify the downtrend. But if you have a long-term, timeline, time frame, I think, yeah, Joseph's right. Just continue to buy the dip because my base case going forward is still it's a better alternative to fiat. So
Okay.
that's what
Just got a comment from Daryl Cooper. Thank you very much, Daryl. He says Ethereum, not Bitcoin yet. So he figures that jumping in on Ethereum will give you a better return, or at least a more positive flow than farting around on the roller coaster that has become Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I agree with him on that one. However, have felt that cryptocurrency has no value still, and they have yet to prove any kind of real scenario that proves it's actually better than fiat. Basically, it is fiat, just by digital name. It's a rose as a rose as a rose. Here we go. Martin also just commented saying, why not gold and silver? Until crypto has regulations, I will not buy them. I'm waiting for Tether and other fake crypto to be shut down before buying. And I think that's actually very true. We haven't yet seen the normalization of the marketplace. Just like we saw with cannabis, right? Everybody thought they were going to be billionaires at the start, right? And what do we got right now? We've got a few big guys that make no money. So it's a whole different game than what we thought it was going to be, right? With the United States talking about creating their own cryptocurrency, China talking about and everybody to a certain extent talking about regulations. Much of this cryptocurrency will go dead by the road side at this point. And for me, I don't think there's no crystal ball that's going to tell you which one's going to survive, because I don't think we've hit any one yet that actually has that magic solution, because none of them do. We're still just betting on a future that doesn't exist. So if you're making money in the short term, which is basically what Musk is doing, then yeah, pump the shit out of it and buy and sell and do whatever you want. But the fact is, long term, nobody knows what the story is going to be, or if cryptocurrency is actually going to be a thing in the free sense that we think it is. Because honestly, the only way you're ever going to get institutions involved to legitimize the currency itself is if it becomes fiat currency.
Yeah.
It is fiat currency. If it's going to be a currency, that's what it's going to be. There's no everybody's the captain of their own fate scenario that's going to come from this. That's never going to happen. And not just because the central banks don't want it. Nobody can trust that kind of a network. Nobody can. So anyway, that's my bet. Go ahead.
I'll comment
TK,
on the
what do you
gold,
think?
though. The gold one. I'll comment on that because I wrote about this yesterday, and I think you guys know I'm gold and silver are like my favorite investments, right? I use that as my non-fiat trades as well. I'm always going long gold and silver. That's still the largest part of my personal portfolio. But what I want to talk about quickly is, as everything was selling off. So, we had stocks sell off, we had bonds sell off. We actually had the dollar sell off for a bit too. But gold was like the only green in the sea of red. And we had some headlines like this actually from Barron's and from JP Morgan. Many investors are pulling out and putting their money into gold. Big institutional investors are dumping Bitcoin and going back to gold, says JP Morgan. And unfortunately, these are all behind paywalls. However, our good friends here at Kitco linked some of the quotes that were from the JP Morgan article, and you can read some of that stuff here. But the funny thing is, JP Morgan points out that it's a technical break and a retreat in Bitcoin, and they are now seeing inflows because where is that quote? Long Bitcoin is now the most crowded trade at 27%. And generally, this is associated with relative tops, but they also mentioned, where's that quote? There's a quote about gold being better here we go. They point out that gold stability is an attraction to investors leaving the crypto space. So back to gold being that stable coin, stable metal. So we are actually seeing that, and you guys know me, right? I'm big on gold and silver, but I have some money in cryptos as well.
TK?
Oh, I'm not touching this thing with with anything with a hazmat on. I best leave it. It's I rather touch the stocks themselves.
Yep.
And hey, people sell out. It's a good thing for me. I'll buy the dip as well. We'll be buying different dips. uh, my dip will be more predictable. Uh, Companies are more predictable than an asset. But I have implemented. I'm not old school. I have implemented a new investment strategy that I think we should all take part. There's this wonderful research company that came up, and it's free, by the way. Most of Wall Street, you have to pay $10,000 for the research and stuff like that, and you have to read these 30-page reports on people's analysis for stocks, bonds, etc., even cryptos. But yeah, there's a new research company that came up, and it cuts these into 6-second videos, and I think it's called TikTok. And it just has some of the best research that I've ever laid eyes upon, and I'm implementing it into my investment philosophy from now on.
I was so excited for so long. I was so with you there. I'm like, that sounds great. I can't wait to get involved.
It's TikTok. but jokes aside, it's I just like watching them because you can kind of tell where people's thinking is. And there's right now TikTok is filled with a lot of Elon haters.
Yep.
And the jokes changed from, oh, Bitcoin is, it's great. And as well, it's comedic, so don't take it too seriously. But they say, oh, Bitcoin is great. And now people are like, what actually is Bitcoin? Like, what does it actually do? And I just started laughing. I was like, I wish I knew too. In the comments, just kind of the same people reiterating the same thing. They're like, you're making a joke of it, but what actually does it do? What does it actually? Have you asked people who use it? Are we the only ones who know about it? Is it just a small community of? And I'm like, oh no, it's starting to happen. People are starting to question. What's the question?
Debate, right? Is it money or is it a safe haven?
Yeah, is it money or is it a safe haven? People are asking those questions, and I think as we've seen from religion, once you start asking questions about your Lord and Savior, it doesn't really take you to the best places.
Well, thank you very much, TK. That was actually pretty cool. One of our viewers, Daryl, said, dang it, I was taking notes. Laugh my ass off. Next time I'll use a pencil when TK starts up.
Me too, Daryl. Me too. I was literally typing it. On that note, we are out of time, but we will be back next week to talk about this more, probably.
Absolutely. Awesome. Why not? Thanks very much, everybody. Take care. Elon already told everyone it's a hustle. Dogecoin. That's right. Thank you very much, Martin. Glad you guys were on the show today. Really helps when we get the input from viewers as well. Thank you so much. We'll, as Maddie said, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.